Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Raisha Sehgal. On the show tonight, after Ukraine's biggest drone attack on Moscow, the question in everybody's mind is, how will Russia take revenge for Ukraine's drone attacks? Will Russia strike Ukraine's capital Kiev, or will it use its Oreshnik hypersonic missile against Ukraine? All this while Moscow continues to circle Ukrainian troops in Kursk. Also on the show, we will tell you about Europe's surrender generation. It is a group of young people who say that they would refuse to take up arms if their country went to war. Also on the show, we will tell you how world's richest man, Elon Musk, has lost his balance and bank balance. We say that because Musk has lost $148 billion since January 17th this year. Not just that, Musk lost $29 billion on Monday alone. All that and a lot more lined up on the show. Let's get you started. Tonight on Gravitas, we begin with a very important question. How will Russia retaliate after Ukraine's massive drone assault on Moscow? This attack was not just another strike in the three-year-long war. It was a direct hit on the Russian capital, Moscow. With Russia holding the upper hand on the battlefield, the big question is, how will it respond to the Ukrainian attack? In the past, Russia has unleashed devastating attacks after every Ukrainian attack on its soil. When Ukraine, for the first time, fired US-provided ATACMS, Russian forces fired Oreshnik hypersonic missile. Earlier today, Moscow woke up to explosions, chaos and casualties. Ukraine unleashed what it called the largest drone assault on Moscow to date, leaving at least 3 people dead and causing widespread damage. The skies over Russia's capital, Moscow, were filled with hundreds of drones, forcing the city's airports to shut down. Moscow's governor confirmed multiple injuries and casualties, adding that the assault struck residential buildings and disrupted civilian life in Moscow. Russia's defense ministry said it intercepted and shot down 337 Ukrainian drones across different regions. 91 were taken out over Moscow, while another 126 were destroyed over the Kursk region. The Kremlin has now slammed Ukraine, calling this a direct attack on civilian infrastructure. Russian officials are accusing Kiev of targeting residential areas, a charge that could perhaps justify even harsher retaliation from Russia. The question is not if Russia will strike back, it is when, where and how severe that response by Russia will be. While Russia continues its aerial assault on Ukraine, a ballistic missile and 126 drones hit multiple Ukrainian targets, setting fire to a fuel storage facility and also injuring civilians. Meanwhile, in Odessa, the strikes ignited a warehouse, a residential building and a storage facility for children's toys. Now, Ukraine's attack comes at a very crucial moment. We say that because it comes before high-level negotiations between Ukrainian and US officials in Saudi Arabia. These talks aim to discuss a possible ceasefire with Russia. But could the drone assault by Ukraine on Moscow derail this? Or was it an intentional sabotage? Or was Ukraine simply sending a message?
The largest drone attack in history was carried out on Moscow and the Moscow region. The drone raid, all night and into the morning, including strikes on the Dyagilevo airfield and beyond, is an additional signal to Putin that the ceasefire from the air is something he should be interested in.
While Ukraine might be posturing, the reality on ground is very different. Since the meeting between US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the US has frozen aid to Kyiv, intelligence sharing has also been stopped, satellite access has been revoked. And now, as the talks commence, the US has made it clear Ukraine will have to accept territorial losses as a part of any peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that Kyiv must consider giving up land seized by Russia since 2014 if it wants an end to the war. Meanwhile, the first round of high-stakes negotiations between the US and Ukraine finished in Jeddah just over an hour ago, with Trump's national security advisor saying, and I'm quoting here, "We will get there." Ukrainian President's Chief of Staff Andriy Yermak, who is also part of the Ukrainian delegation visiting Jeddah, wrote on X that the meeting started very constructively. Kremlin, meanwhile, has declined to comment on Russia's stance on the proposed partial ceasefire. So the question being, what happens next? Will Moscow launch a large-scale counterattack on Kyiv? Will Russia strike deeper into Ukrainian land? Or will this escalation push the war into an even deadlier phase, negating the ongoing ceasefire talks? Because one thing is certain, Putin will not let Ukraine's drone assault go unanswered. With US intelligence and weapons aid frozen, Ukraine is struggling to counter Russia's relentless assault. From Kursk to Sumy, Moscow's forces are pressing forward, while devastating missile strikes cripple Ukraine's defenses. Our next story brings you update from the battlefield, where the odds are stacking up against Kyiv and the situation is only turning desperate. Take a look.
Russian aerial attacks on Ukrainian cities have continued unabated, with drones and missiles regularly hitting targets across the country. In a stunning tactical maneuver, Russian forces have advanced further in the Kursk region and executed a flanking operation, with troops emerging behind enemy lines in what military analysts describe as a textbook encirclement. Russian forces are attacking Sudza from several directions simultaneously, applying maximum pressure on the embattled Ukrainian defenders. Kyiv's growing fear is that Russia's territorial gains could sever critical supply lines to the estimated 30,000 Ukrainian troops currently stationed in Kursk. The situation in Sumy is equally dire, with Russian forces capturing significant territory in Donetsk and exerting increased pressure on Ukrainian positions that are increasingly difficult to maintain. Compounding this precarious situation is the complete halt in weapons deliveries and intelligence sharing by the Trump administration. While weapon shortage isn't the immediate headache, the intelligence vacuum has created a critical vulnerability. Previously, American intelligence had allowed Ukraine to use the HIMARS systems to launch ATACMS, a longer-range guided missile system, and strike targets deep inside occupied Ukrainian territory or inside Russia itself. Now, with this intelligence flow halted, Ukrainian troops are effectively operating blind. The Russian Ministry of Defense has released footage showcasing the destruction of a HIMARS system inside Ukraine, claiming the attack was carried out using an Iskander missile. The fearsome Iskander-M, a road-mobile short-range ballistic missile with a range of up to 500 kilometers, can carry various warheads including high explosive and bunker-busting munitions. Iskander's sophisticated mid-flight maneuvering capabilities make it exceptionally difficult to intercept, posing a significant challenge to Ukraine's already overwhelmed air defense network. As the conflict intensifies, Ukraine's leadership is grappling with mounting challenges on multiple fronts. The combination of sophisticated missile strikes, territorial losses, and diminished international support has created a precarious situation with no clear path to stabilization. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Our next story on Gravitas is about Europe's surrender generation. Europe's security bubble has burst. Abandoned by the US under Trump, Europe now faces a grim reality check. Defense spending is rising, yet the ranks remain thin. Will Europe be ready if war comes? I ask this because two recent polls have revealed a stark reality. A growing number of young people in France and the United Kingdom say that they would refuse to take up arms if their country went to war. The Western youth is expressing skepticism about military intervention. They are questioning the motives behind conflicts. Could this sentiment by the young generation in Europe have serious implications for Europe's security strategies? It looks like it. Sample this. According to a new poll, half of France's young would sign up in war, but not to fight in it. Yes, you heard that right. They're not keen to fight any kind of war. The poll found that 48% of French youth are happy to join the army if the country joined conflict, but only 1 in 7 would actually take a combat role. It means not all were keen to lay their lives on the front line. A further 34% said that they would sign up as long as they were in a support role. 40% said that they would not do so at all. The survey is not shocking. It's the same story in the United Kingdom as well. Just last month, we told you that the Gen Z in UK also refused to fight for their country. According to the findings of that poll, only 11% of the 18 to 27-year-old Britons would fight for their country. The poll, which studied the views and beliefs of Gen Z adults, those aged between 18 to 27, revealed deep erosion of faith in Britain. According to the poll, 41% of British youth said that there were no circumstances at all in which they would take up arms for their country. But let's get back to France for now. A different poll in France found that the older generations were more enthusiastic about fighting for their own country than the younger ones. A majority of people over the age of 65 supported the reinstatement of mandatory military service. But only 43% of the youth, that is people between the age of 18 to 24, concurred. Just for context here, in France, conscription was abolished a quarter of a century ago. But what does all of this data tell you? It's pretty evident. The youth in Europe see no point in war. A majority will not pick up arms in the event of a war at all. Perhaps a case can be made here for why the youth in Europe see no point in fighting a war decided by a handful of men in suits. This is perhaps why military enlistment is down across Europe, and that's despite the perceived threats from Russia. Take a look at the shrinking numbers now. In Germany, the military is at least 20,000 soldiers short of what its military chiefs say the country needs. The deficit is one of the largest in Europe. But it is not the only one. Let's talk about the United Kingdom, which has missed its annual military recruiting targets every year for the last decade. The French armed forces, the largest in Europe, with 203,000 men and women, are still short of what the armed forces chiefs say are the numbers that the country needs. It is down 8% since 2014. Then, in Italy, the military size has dwindled from 200,000 a decade ago to 160,000 today. So, on paper, European NATO allies have 1.9 million troops between them. That's what is on the paper. That sounds like it's enough to counter any enemy. But in reality, on ground, European NATO powers would struggle to commit any more than 300,000 troops. And that's if a war were to break out. And even then, it would take months of preparation. The problem of shrinking military manpower has been known about for some time now. Experts say that one of the major reasons why European armies are failing to attract new soldiers is because the youth are choosing stable and better jobs. They're not keen in joining the armed forces. The younger generation are used to traveling, studying abroad, and looking for jobs in the private sector. And that's the problem. As far as the problem of shrinking armies is concerned, while experts have identified the trend, they have warned that this sentiment could have serious implications for Europe's security strategies. Will Europe be ready if war comes knocking? That's a million-dollar question for European leaders to answer. Has a recession begun? If you watched the news this morning, you would have seen the bloodbath on Wall Street. Markets were in meltdown. Share markets across the world saw sharp losses after brutal sell-off in America. In a matter of weeks, US stocks have gone from scaling record highs to flashing recession worries. So, what happened? Well, Donald Trump happened. You see, stocks have tumbled amid mounting concerns over a potentially worsening economic outlook due to US President Donald Trump's tariffs. And on Monday, he had refused to rule out the suggestion that his tariffs could trigger a recession in the world's biggest economy. Earlier, during a Fox News interview aired on Sunday, Trump described the economic situation as a period of transition. These remarks, coupled with escalating trade tensions highlighted by ongoing tariff negotiations between the US, Mexico and Canada, they have rattled the market participants. The market turmoil comes amid growing fears that America may be sliding towards a recession, stoked by aggressive trade policies and mounting economic uncertainty. Have Trump's policies increased the likelihood of a recession? Well, according to experts, the answer is yes. Trump's policies, it has stoked fears of a recession. First, the Trump administration slapped 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada, as well as 10% tariffs on imports from China. Then, Trump issued a one-month delay for tariffs on auto-related goods from Mexico and Canada. The economic damage had already been done. Well, Canada and China both retaliated with tariffs on some U.S. imports. As a result, though all three major U.S. stock indexes slumped, Trump's team predicted confidence that the fluctuation would be short-lived and not for a very long time. They're trying to say that an economic boom set off by tax cuts would follow later this year. The White House has insisted that this is merely a blip. But the question is it true? Is it just a blip? Because experts warn the economic foundations are shaking due to Trump's escalating trade war. The truth is investors have been unsettled by Trump's tariffs that go even beyond his sweeping campaign promises. Hundreds of billions in new import duties have already been imposed and trillions more about to take effect on April 2nd. What's more, the federal government could shut down this weekend too if Congress does not extend federal funding, possibility that Trump acknowledged himself on Sunday. The U.S. and this has rather raised concerns that the political gridlock could further destabilize an already fragile market. Experts have cautioned that these aggressive tariffs could cripple global growth, pushing not just the U.S. but other major economies into recession. Economists of both parties have criticized Trump's justification for his trade war. They have repeatedly said that tariffs of his first term caused the U.S. manufacturing to decline. The White House has already twice imposed stiff tariffs only to quickly modulate, leading to wild ups and downs on the Wall Street. Due to all these developments, economists and major banks have either upped their recession forecast or lowered their growth outlooks. For example, JP Morgan Chase economists have raised their risk of a recession this year to 40%. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs economists have raised its 12-month recession probability to 20%. And that's a big wake-up call for Wall Street. As for what would a recession mean for everyday people, it's pretty self-explanatory. A recession would put millions of Americans out of work, out of job. It would cripple businesses and risk exacerbating U.S. national debt. Not just that, it could trigger layoffs, which in turn hammers consumers' pocketbooks, triggering a further slowdown of business activity. That may set off a self-perpetuating cycle. In short, recessions are just bad. People lose jobs, income and wealth. Will it happen is the question. All eyes are on White House's policies. At this point, it's really anybody's guess. All right, let's now tell you what else is lined up for you on Gravitas tonight. We will get you the latest from Bangladesh, where there has been an increase in violence against women, with increasing reports of sexual violence, including rape and harassment. Also on Gravitas, in a major embarrassment for Pakistan, the country's ambassador to Turkmenistan was denied entry into the United States of America at the LA airport. We'll get you the latest on that as well. We will also tell you how London has emerged as the mobile theft capital of Europe. We now turn our attention to West Asia, specifically to Gaza, where nearly 2 million people are staring at starvation. And to make matters worse, the only remaining power line used to operate a desalination plant in Gaza that provides drinking water to about 500,000 people, that has also been cut by Israel, leaving Gazans in dire situation. Our next report telling you more.
Forced shutdowns, no electricity, no aid. Gazans have gone 10 days without food, fuel, medical supplies and cooking gas. Israel has imposed starvation on the people of Gaza. And now Houthis are responding with a new ultimatum: to lift a blockage of aid into Gaza within 4 days, or the group would resume its naval operations against Israel.
We declare to the whole world that we will give a 4-day ultimatum. This ultimatum period for the mediators in their efforts. If the Israeli enemy continues after the 4 days to prevent the entry of aid into the Gaza Strip, and continues the complete closure of the crossings and the prevention of the entry of food and medicine into the Gaza Strip, then we will return to resuming our naval operations against the Israeli enemy. Our speech is very clear, and we confront the siege with the siege.
The Houthis conducted more than 100 attacks on shipping from November 2023 in solidarity with Palestinians over the war in Gaza. Over that period, the Houthis sank at least 2 vessels and seized another. The attacks disrupted global shipping routes, forcing countries to reroute to longer and more expensive journeys around southern Africa. In Gaza, millions are struggling without clean water and acute food shortages amidst the Israeli blockade.
We can only get 1 bag of bread. The borders are closed and everywhere is closed. What shall we do? For every person only half a loaf of bread, half a pita bread. What shall I tell you? May God ease the situation on everyone. We're in a crisis. We can't do anything. I leave home at 600 and I return at 1300 for just 1 loaf of bread.
Earlier this month, Israel imposed a total blockade on all goods entering the enclave, demanding that Hamas free the remaining hostages. Now, Israel's energy minister, Eli Cohen, has instructed Israel's electric corporation not to sell electricity to Gaza, making the situation worse in the besieged strip. It effectively means that a desalination plant can no longer function properly, with Palestinian authorities warning that without clean water, an environmental and health disaster looms.
The expected risks from stopping the desalination plant are first, insufficient water reaching citizens, which leads to citizens relying on alternative means that may be contaminated water here or there. This threatens the spread of intestinal or skin diseases and reduced hygiene among citizens. Therefore, we expect that if the closure continues, God forbid, an environmental and health disaster will occur.
The United Nations has called on Israel to lift its blockade on humanitarian aid to Gaza after 10 consecutive days of total supply cuts, with the UN Relief Agency chief warning that Gaza hunger's crisis could further deepen if Israeli blockade continues.
I think the more we go ahead, the more we will see the impact increasing on the population, and obviously the risk after one is that we go back to a situation we experienced months ago about deepening hunger in the Gaza Strip.
With negotiators gathering in Doha, all eyes are on the ceasefire's more difficult second phase. Hamas wants the withdrawal of Israeli forces and a lasting peace, while Israel and the US seek the release of the remaining hostages. Hamas is believed to have 24 living hostages and the bodies of 35 others. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
It's been more than 6 hours and a train full of passengers remain hostage in Pakistan. The details still are sketchy as of now of this audacious attack in Pakistan. A passenger train came under heavy gunfire in Pakistan's Balochistan province, leaving 1 dead and multiple passengers injured. Security forces claim 450 passengers have been held hostage. There are women, there are children among the hostages. Now, the Jafar Express travelling from Quetta to Peshawar was attacked near Sibi in Balochistan. The Band Baloch Liberation Army or BLA has claimed responsibility for the attack. The attack took place in Dahad Bolan, a volatile region that has seen repeated militant activities in the past. Militants reportedly stopped the train in a tunnel before taking the passengers hostage. Eyewitnesses reported intense gunfire as the assailants targeted the train, creating panic among the 450 passengers on board. Officials confirm that the train driver was killed in the attack and several others sustained injuries. Well, soon after the incident, relatives of the passengers who were travelling on the train turned to Quetta railway station seeking information about their loved ones.
We're desperately trying to contact our relatives, but there's been no response since we heard the train was hijacked in Bolan and passengers were taken hostage.
My cousin, a woman and a small child were on board, traveling from Quetta to Multan to pick up a family member. I'm frantic with worry, but no one is telling me what's happening or if they're safe.
While the full extent of the situation remains unclear and like I mentioned, the details are sketchy, local officials have confirmed that security forces have rushed to rescue passengers and regain control of the situation. Authorities remain tight-lipped about the full details of the operation, with the situation still unfolding as of now. Balochistan has long been a hotbed of insurgent activity, with separatist groups like the BLA carrying out attacks against Pakistani security forces and infrastructure. In August last year, 70 people were killed in 4 assaults in Balochistan province, which is in southwestern Pakistan. The latest attack underscores the growing instability in the region, raising concerns about passenger safety on key railway routes. Well, this is a developing story and further updates are expected as security forces continue their operation. Well, from Pakistan, we shift our focus to Bangladesh, where hundreds of students are up in arms. Yes, once again. This time, they're demonstrating violence against women. The trigger was the sexual assault of an 8-year-old girl just last week. An 8-year-old girl was sexually assaulted and she's right now battling for her life after she was assaulted in Bangladesh's Magora district. She is on life support in a hospital in Dhaka. The incident has shocked the entire country and has sparked massive outrage. Students and women activists are urging for the death penalty for the rapist without delay. For 3 days now, demonstrators have taken to the streets. It started on Sunday. Thousands of students from colleges across Bangladesh marched at midnight, demanding justice for the victim. They want maximum punishment for the rapist of the girl. They want action and accountability from the government. They want a speedy trial in rape cases around the country. And they want Home Affairs Advisor MD Jahangir Alam Chaudhary to resign. She also said that Chaudhary should resign and take responsibility for the worsening of law and order in Bangladesh, including murder and rape. The students said that they have been seeing a culture of impunity for a very long time. Many students boycotted classes and took to social media, posting blindfolded photos in support with the victims. In Dhaka, students have criticized the interim government's failure in curbing sexual violence. They have condemned the government's dismissive remarks on recent harassment cases. They have also denounced the culture of impunity that allows perpetrators to escape justice. Teachers have also taken part in the demonstrations. When police intervened, students warned of escalating actions if officials failed to ensure punishment for the offenders. Students are demanding special tribunals to ensure faster trials for rape cases. The demonstrations are not just about this one case of the 8-year-old girl being sexually assaulted. The students are also demonstrating against the recent rise in violence, rape and torture against women in Bangladesh. The demonstrations have sparked similar demonstrations elsewhere in the country as well, as other rape cases around the country came to light in the following days. Amid ongoing demonstrations, 6 cases of sexual assault was reported across 6 districts of Bangladesh. What's shocking was that the victims are all aged from 6 to 14 years. At least 7 people were reportedly arrested on Monday on charges of sexual assault in these districts. These rising incidents of sexual assaults, despite the demonstrations by the people against the rising incidents of violence against women, have exposed the absolute worsening of law and order in the country. In Bangladesh, the various political outfits that had earlier joined hands to overthrow Sheikh Hasina-led government for inaction, they have now once again come together to criticize the Muhammad Yunus-led interim government. They're criticizing and demanding justice and raising the banner of revolt against the failing law and order in the country. Is Bangladesh's youth is speaking up. Will the government act before it gets too late? Well, our next story is from India, where a case has been filed against the overseas unit president of the Congress party, Sam Pitroda, who has been accused of being involved in a major land scam case. In a press conference, BJP leader N.R. Ramesh claimed that Pitroda has allegedly held illegal possession of highly valuable government land in Karnataka for the past 14 years and earning crores in revenue annually from it. Well, Ramesh alleged that the local health traditions, or FRLHT, which is the trust chaired by Pitroda, has occupied forest land in an unauthorized manner and operates an Ayurvedic hospital under the name IAM illegally. Alongside Pitroda, the managing trustee of FRLHT and 4 other senior Karnataka officials have also been named in the case. But what is this controversy all about? Let's tell you more about it as per Ramesh. FRLHT was initially registered in Mumbai on October 23, 1991. Then, in 1996, Pitroda petitioned for lease of 12.35 acre of reserved forest land. That's from the Karnataka Forest Department, apparently for the conservation of medicinal plants and for foundational activities as well. The lease was then renewed in 2001 for an extra 10 years. However, since 2011, the lease for this 12.35 acre reserved forest land has not yet been extended, which means the deal stands expired. Despite this, Pitroda allegedly continued to occupy the land, which is now valued at over rupees 150 crore. Without any renewal or approval from the officials, which, to put it simply, makes it illegal as of now. On his part, Pitroda has clarified that he owns no land or stocks in India. And on your screens right now is a grab of his statement, which he posted on X. Well, on to Pakistan now, where in a major embarrassment for the country, a senior diplomat of Pakistan was denied entry into the United States of America. And this is despite him reportedly having a valid visa and all required documents. And now, responding to media speculations, Pakistan's Foreign Office has confirmed that the diplomat was traveling for personal reasons when he was stopped by the US immigration authorities. The matter is being further probed by the Pakistan Foreign Ministry. Well, we are talking about the Pakistan diplomat KK Wagan, the ambassador of Pakistan to Turkmenistan. He was stopped by the US immigration on his arrival in LA and then deported due to what was an immigration objection. As per reports, the US officials flagged concerns of diplomatic protocol over controversial visa as a reason behind denying Wagan entry into the US. But specific details remain unclear as of now. Not just that, Wagan was also asked to return home from where he had arrived in LA. And this has perhaps put Pakistan in a spot. We say that because this incident is a major cause of embarrassment for Islamabad. Why is that? Because this comes amid reports that US President Donald Trump would soon impose a travel ban on the country that effectively stops the entry of Pakistanis into the US. Meanwhile, other sources cited by local media suggested that the denial of entry might be linked to cases filed during the envoy's previous stint in the US. But regardless of what the reason was, this is a matter of concern, especially when a seasoned and senior diplomat such as Wagan had been met with such a treatment. This has many speculating if this is a cue for how Pakistanis would be treated on US soil here on. As of now, the matter is being thoroughly probed. And as per reports, Wagan is likely to be summoned to Islamabad to give an explanation over the incident. What happens next? One has to keep a close watch. Our next story is about Elon Musk, who seems to have lost both balance and bank balance. Well, quite a nightmare for the world's richest man. Well, the reason why we say this is because Musk, in an explosive claim, has blamed fellow billionaires George Soros, Reid Hoffman, as well as the Act Blue fundraising organization over the recent demonstrations that have rocked his firm Tesla. Now remember, Musk owns big stakes to the effect of almost 12% in Tesla. Citing an unspecified investigation into Act Blue, this is what Musk wrote on X in his tweet. He named the billionaires and accused them of funding Tesla takedown demonstrations. Musk also cited an investigation finding these groups responsible, but he did not cite any specific investigation. You see, George Soros and Reid Hoffman are linked to Act Blue, and that's through their roles as prominent Democratic donors. However, there is no evidence linking them to recent Tesla demonstrations. Is this a sign that Musk seems to be losing his cool as well as his personal balance? Well, as reports suggest, possibly his bank balance too. This year has not been particularly a great start for Musk. And we say that monetary-wise, money-wise, because he saw his net worth deplete more than $120 billion from his $464 billion peak in December last year. This is reportedly the value of Tesla shares fell amid fears over US President Donald Trump's tariffs. Well, according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, Musk lost $29 billion just in a single day as Tesla stocks crashed. $29 billion. What's more, Musk also called the demonstrators at Tesla Act Blue funded. However, Act Blue in reality does not actually fund groups, but platforms, donors who can give money to campaigns or organizations. It again signs which perhaps signal that Musk might be losing it. But are there good reasons to it? You see, Tesla has been targeted by demonstrators angry at Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE's, efforts to slash jobs across the government agencies. Over the weekend, multiple demonstrators were arrested outside New York City, some of whom reportedly chanted, and I quote here, "We need clean air, not another billionaire." Earlier this week, about 350 demonstrators chanted anti-Musk slogans outside a Tesla dealership in Portland. Clearly, Musk is having a bad time. According to Forbes, Musk, his worth an estimated $342.4 billion, and much of his wealth comes from his 12% stake in Tesla and his 42% stake in SpaceX. And with Tesla faring poorly, his concerns are only legitimate. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has come out in Musk's support and said that he will buy a brand new Tesla to show his support for Musk. Now, when it comes to the Trump-Musk ties and the duo, it's nothing short of a wild ride, quite literally. Moving on, in an unprecedented feat, scientists have achieved the impossible. They have frozen pure light, making it behave like a solid. Our next story explains about this mind-bending discovery, which in a way challenges our entire understanding of reality itself. Take a look.
What is the fastest object in the universe? Well, it's light. Einstein formulated that nothing could exceed the speed of light. Now, in a discovery that borders on the supernatural, physicists have achieved what Einstein himself would have called impossible. They've frozen beams of light into a crystalline structure, creating the first ever photonic solid. Scientists at the Institute of Advanced Photonics in Milan have achieved the seemingly impossible. They forced light particles to remain perfectly still while maintaining their photonic properties. This isn't merely slowing light down, it's creating an entirely new state of matter that defies our fundamental understanding of physics. In a paper published in Nature, the team of Italian nanotechnologists and physicists explain how they fundamentally altered our understanding of light's properties. The light they've manipulated has become a true supersolid, maintaining a crystalline structure while simultaneously exhibiting superfluid properties. This achievement challenges conventional views on the laws of nature while making light more controllable and stable. The practical applications extend to advanced optical technologies and quantum computing, potentially revolutionizing how we process and transmit information while opening doors to discovering entirely new forms of matter.
Can artificial intelligence feel stress and anxiety just like all of us? A new study suggests that OpenAI's ChatGPT exhibits signs of emotional distress when exposed to unsettling content. Yes, that's true. Researchers from Switzerland, Germany, Israel and the United States discovered that when the chatbot handled traumatic narratives, and it was then later asked follow-up questions, its anxiety score spiked. Initially showing little to no anxiety, researchers found that the AI shifted to a consistently high anxiety state. The findings suggest that heightened anxiety in AI could lead to mood swings in its responses. According to the study, users might notice it becoming irritable or even displaying biased behavior, including racial and gender-based preconceived ideas. Scientists compared this to how humans react under stress, stating that fear can distort the way humans think, making them more prone to reinforcing social stereotypes and biases. The study warned that emotional prompts could alter how AI systems behave, pushing them towards more anxious responses and amplifying their biases, raising concerns about how external influence might shape AI interactions over time. Meanwhile, another study published recently reported that AI does not just exhibit emotional-like reactions, it also appears to suffer from cognitive decline, much like aging human beings. Researchers tested the reasoning abilities of major AI models and found that all models struggled with visuospatial skills and mental functions. According to the study, tasks like drawing a clock or following a sequence proved especially challenging for the aging AI models. Researchers also found that AI's performance resembled patterns seen in human patients suffering from Alzheimer's disease, raising concerns that if AI continues evolving, it will also continue to worsen over time, just like the human brain. And if so, what are the long-term consequences for AI's reliability? Well, you do know about Holi, the festival of colors, but do you know about Latmar Holi? It's Latmar Holi today, which means that the week-long Holi celebrations have kicked off today. Latmar Holi, or Holi of Sticks, is a festival celebrated in the twin towns of Barsana and Nandagaon, also known as the towns of Radha and Krishna. According to Hindu legend, Lord Krishna would visit Radha and her friends to bother and tease them. He would also smear color on Radha and her friends. But as Krishna entered Barsana, he would be playfully greeted with sticks by Radha and her friends. Following the same trend every year during Holi, the men of Nandagaon, who are treated as son-in-laws of Barsana, visit the city where they are greeted by women with colors and sticks, or the lathi like they say. The festival is enacted in good humor. Thousands of devotees and tourists gather to witness this unique spectacle. Celebrations took place across Mathura, Vrindavan and Gokul, featuring events like Phoolon Ki Holi, which is Holi with flowers. Take a look. And that's all that we have on Gravitas tonight. Thanks for staying with us. You are watching WION The World. Stay tuned.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Empowering the tokenized revolution. Tune in to Token Money Magnet, only on WION.
No more understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events